Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. Hello, friends. Hello. And welcome to another show. I want to invite you in to join me around this sacred circle. We're going to have some fun today with the bringers of the light, the Abigail and Dakkar, and the Whales of Azure Falls, which will tease out the energies of this month a little bit more. Before we do that, if you're new here, settle in. You're going to find your place in this community. You may not resonate with everything that's put out because I do a whole lot of different things. So maybe the Bringers of the Light is the show space for you, or maybe you just love everything. And if so, then hey-o, you're all my peeps, but I can't expect everybody. Maybe you guys do listen to everybody. What does it matter? Stop talking. Okay, sorry. I'm getting a little bit overly throat chakra active today. So here's what happens too when these shows start. We tap into the energy of the collective that's listening, to our listeners, to our community members, for TLC for the Soul. And those are the energies that I pick up on, that I am speaking to, and that we are working with on the show. So if themes come up, like any session that you have with an intuitive, anything that happens during the session is part of the session. So anything that stands out to you during the session that may not be as a result of me speaking, could be the dog barking in the background or something else that comes up. It's all could be a message for you. Returning show members, family members, thank you so much for always coming back to share in the offerings of this channel. I appreciate you and all your lovely comments, emails, and well wishes. Even if they are blessings and prayers, I receive them all. Many of you I know don't comment outwardly on these different platforms, but you may email me, or I know that I could be in your thoughts or your whatever, your well wishes. Just like I send prayers up for all of my show family and ask for blessings for you guys as well. A couple of quick little things before we get into the energies of today's show. First of all, I'm wrapping us all in love light and light love, inviting in the spirit guides who overlight this show, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, and a cast of many, many other guides who we work with that come in and come out. I am on a new podcast platform called Reasons. We'll see how it goes. I like it in a sense. I haven't really gotten in there yet. I did open an account and claim my podcast there. So it's kind of like social and a podcast platform together. So you're able to like comment and like and share and subscribe to the show and all that. And I saw a lot of different podcasts on there already. So it's a fairly new platform, I think several years old, but it looks kind of fun. It looks kind of like a cross between a podcast and an Instagram somehow together. So we'll see, like I might pop in over there, and I've got notifications turned on. So if any of you are on that platform, because someone I think reached out and they sent me an email saying, someone's saying, come claim your podcast. So I will be active over there. So if you're commenting or interacting in the social side of things on that platform, then I will get notifications of that, and I can share that community space with you as well. Just another quick little plug for those of you that haven't heard it yet. We have started an experiential this month called the Grail Quest, working with Sir Galahad and the Galahad transmissions. And let me tell you, since I started that, big chills on that one. Since I started that, it was really calling itself like a journey to your heart's desire, but like an opening up, more of an opening up to your I am presence. But there's a big heart opening coming with this one too, because once you join in an experiential with us on the show, like things start showing up in your reality that are weaved into the magic and the energy of these experiences. And this one has been very heart opening. And so you may see in my work this month more evidence of that as it's playing out, as the energies of those Galahad transmissions are playing out for me. But I posted a very tearful short yesterday. I'm starting to do some shorts of like work in progress and stuff. And that chapter that I read out of Powerball, which is the book that I'm working on right now, was I don't know, I can't tell you, out of all the views, I'm probably the one I listened to it like 10 times yesterday. I just love that chapter so much. So those are meant to be quick, heart opening. Everything I do is with intention. All the books that I write, all the cards that I make, even if you, I love this part, even if you read a book and you like hate it, you've already gotten the activation. So it doesn't matter like if you don't like the story or if you absolutely totally love the story. The purpose is there's an activation in all of my work, whether you're a lover or a not so lover. Like if you interact with my work, you've already gotten the activation that you need. And that's the intention that has been set with all of my work. So I love it because you can either like me or not like me, but it doesn't matter. It's just so, I love it. That's awesome. Okay. Let me find. So my favorite lovers are back. So we haven't played with Abigail and Dakkar in a while. So those of you that are new may not know. So I do have a book series out there called The Bringers of the Light. It all started here on the show in October of, I don't know when, 2 years ago, I think, with Pumpkin Pie Latte and Abigail's Smile. And I didn't know where that was going to lead, but it has led into a whole series of books. I don't even know how many there are now. And we like to, they're energy stories. So all my work is channeled. So these are all channeled stories and we read from them. So we're going to read a little bit from Whales of Azure Falls, which is the newest of Abigail and Dakkar's adventures as light warriors and light bringers and divine counterparts. We're going to tease out any energies that may be pertinent to you in this now. This is timeless whenever you listen to it. They may guide me to do something else as part of this show, pull cards or light language or something else. So let's just stay tuned to what comes up as a result of that. We've got three. The way this works is there's three. I've got 3 chapters. So we're just going to read them. If there's metaphors or things that I think you should be aware of in your now reality, then I will point those out. Last we left off Abigail and Dakkar. What were they doing? I don't even remember what they were doing. It's been a while since we've played with them. So let's just, they were at the Autumn Festival and I never finished Mabon and Murder. So that'll be for this year. So this is chapter 1. It's never easy, from the Whales of Azure Falls. It had been a long, cold December, and both Abigail and Dakkar had been on top of the mountain, so to speak. Oh, maybe they were doing ascension work. They had spent all their time together, and now, as January set in, they were trying to understand how this new year would play out, as we all are. Would they get a new assignment, or would they simply be made to hang about the town of Rockaway Point, that's where they live, and attend to regular daily life? If even the regular life of the most talented of the Bringers of the Light crew, a wizard and witch, could be called regular. They didn't have to wait long, as Abigail was sipping a hot chai latte, and Dakkar was freshening up in his cottage. The cell rang, and Dakkar picked up the line. But the call ended abruptly, and he was left standing in only his towel and looking out the bathroom window that looked straight out on the harbor. He saw a festooned boat pass by, and it had a huge banner on the side, "Boat for Rent." And then the idea flashed into his mind. We could go on holiday to Azure Falls. There, that was that. As soon as Dakkar got a good hit in his mind's eye, he was off. He didn't wait around to second guess it. As he searched his phone for the boat rental agency, his other line rang. It was Abigail, hoping he had something more to do than come into Crust, which is her bakery, and hang about the kitchen while she made cookies for Mrs. Happenstance's 53rd wedding anniversary. "Love, I have a surprise," Dakkar said, hoping she would be excited. Maybe she was growing tired of him, and a week at home by herself would be her choice instead. Why he had to doubt himself in the relationship was not clear, but he knew that sometimes women got bored of him. He could be a little dry at times, and at other times a little too emotional, but his mind was only playing tricks on him again. "Yay, where to, love?" Abigail said excitedly, because any time she could be close to him was the right time. "We're going on a boat ride to Azure Falls," he said, pretty excited about the idea himself. "There's something I want to show you there." Abigail, giddy at the thought of a boat adventure, hurried her cookie decorating along so she could finish the project and deliver the goodies. She had already cleared her calendar, and so this was the perfect timing for a short getaway. She didn't even chide herself for taking a break right at the beginning of the year. She had worked so hard last year and into the holidays, baking pies, cakes, and whatnots for everyone about town. She deserved a break, and with her man at that. "Where's Azure Falls?" she said, her heart quickening at the name. "I'm not going to tell you anything else," Dakkar said, wanting her to be surprised. "Everything is going to be a big surprise for us," he said, deciding he wanted to sail the route himself. "Pack a bag and meet me at the house at 12 noon tomorrow," he said, trying to be mysterious. "What should I bring?" Abigail asked, knowing nothing about the climate of Azure Falls. "All I'll divulge is that you'll need a raincoat and a bit of sugar. Maybe bring some sugar cookies along for good measure. We can make our own sugar out under the stars." There, he said it, even though he thought it sounded a little silly. But his heart was mush when it came to her, and it often said strange things all on its own before he had time to even think about it. "Okay," she laughed, "sugar cookies it is." Chapter 2, Oh, That Man of Mine. Abigail was so excited that she forgot to pull the pie out of the oven. The kitchen timer sounded as she was decorating the last of the cookies, and she set her piping bag down and looked out onto the back garden of Crust. Her mind went back to the same time last year as she fondly recalled all the spirit friends of Brighty Isle. She wondered what new encounters and mysteries they might have in Azure Falls. Was it even really a waterfall, she thought, inclined to pick up her phone and run a search. But she truly liked being surprised, so she set her phone down and planned out her wardrobe instead. Just as she was putting her list together, the smoke alarm sounded and the kitchen filled with smoke. "Darn it," she said out loud to anyone wanting to hear her. But the only one around at the moment was Rainacourt, her familiar and best buddy. She pushed aside her disappointment at the burnt pie and quickly set to making another. This pie had been promised to O'Malley Billiards as a thank you for all the times they had hosted her coven meetings. The Spectre and Book Coven had met faithfully for years at the Chai House Tea Bar, but its owner and her new husband, yay, Billy and all these my people from my other book got married. But its owner and her new husband, Mr. and Mrs. Tavish, had closed the tea bar for the winter so they could spend their honeymoon abroad. And faithful patrons awaited the day of January 15th when the paint crews would leave and the Tavishes would return for the grand reopening. Spectre and Book Coven really wasn't comfortable at a billiard hall, but something had called them there and they never excused a calling. For it wasn't Mr. O'Malley who had called them there. It had been a young tomcat who made his home in the billiard hall. And this cat, Mr. Tom Paws, as the patrons called him, had reached out telepathically to Polly Willikers. She always gets all the weird messages. One day, she's a member of the coven, as she passed by and asked for assistance. She's like an animal shifter. I think that's why all the animals talk to her. In return, he said they could meet in the special back room of the billiard hall. His owner, Mr. O'Malley, had been having strange dreams lately, and Mr. Tom Paws was certain that dark magic was at play. And so the deal had been struck, and the coven had moved its velveteen sofa out of the chai house and into the back room of O'Malley's. But there was often so much cigar smoke, they had to move the meeting out onto the back garden anyway. And even though they had met here all winter, they had yet to uncover anything darkly magical about the energy there. So much so they were thinking that maybe old Mr. Tompaws secretly wanted to have their company more than anything else. He certainly did have a fun time playing yarn ball with Scratchy every time there was a meeting. Scratchy is Polly Williker's cat familiar. But unbeknownst to even the magical matrons of Spectre and Book, a dark companion had been watching their actions and taking notes. And that dark creature, Owie Bowie, knew that a certain magical couple had been called to a certain Azure Falls, and it was his duty to inform his master and to try to foil any plans by the bringers of the light to even have a good time on vacation. Owie Bowie learned all the details through a deep listening skill he had, where he could hear whatever he wanted as long as it wasn't further away than 5 miles. And he had heard the conversation between Abigail and Dakkar, and he had been waiting since then to make a move and stow away on their vacation. Play with unwitting folks. And so his plan was set, and he patted himself on the back for having overheard such a great conversation. Chapter 3, Sugar Cookies and a Raincoat. Abigail had everything packed, and she loaded up the Triumph Spitfire with her bags. She got a new car. The little convertible could barely stash them, but she stuffed the weekender and the overnight bag in the small boot and loaded the pie and cookies onto the passenger side. Her first stop was O'Malley's and the Happenstances, and then her loves. Dakkar had everything ready, and he wondered if he was taking too much. He hadn't even figured out how long they would be there. But a plan readily downloaded into his mind, and he just knew they would be there for the rest of the week, and possibly longer if everything went as planned. The last time he took her somewhere, it was like a whole nightmare. That was like, why can't I remember the names of these stories? Last winter they went somewhere, and it wasn't good. It ended good. It would be a 2-day boat trip after they landed at the point of Santa Marlena and rented the boat. The port had a great maritime selection of old riverboats, and they would include a captain if you so desired. But Dakkar wanted to practice his seafaring skills, and so he planned for this ride to be just the two of them. There was something drawing him to Azure Falls. And just like the inn. And he even checked with High Corps, wondering if there was some sort of secret special assignment. But High Corps claimed to know nothing about the destination, at least not as it would be for a bringer of the light. He did mention, High Corps' their boss, he did mention that he'd had a wonderful time there with his then mistress, Mrs. Quartermain, but that had been many moons ago, and he hadn't been back to the place since. Dakkar loaded up the car with his bags, captain's gear such that it was, and some old maps he had been gifted from High Corps. Unbeknownst to Dakkar, High Corps had blessed the maps with a magical force field and had called in a divine protection to follow the young couple on their journey. One could never be too careful, he surmised, even when on holiday. Dakkar only needed Abigail to show up, and he hoped it would be soon. He settled into a drink of his favorite cognac, even though he thought it might be a bit too early. But he needed to quell his thoughts about the trip, and so he sipped and meditated on the coming months. Abigail, having safely delivered the gooseberry pie to a very smitten Mr. O'Malley, patted Mr. Tompaws on the head as she left. She made it to Happenstances and dropped off the cookies to the eldest daughter, Mabel Happenstance McGillicuddy, wishing the older Happenstances a bonny anniversary. And then finally she revved the Triumph's sporty little engine and dashed the car away from town, the few blocks to Dakkar's on the hill overlooking the bay. He was nowhere to be found as she pulled up, and so she parked the car and got out. She could smell his favorite cologne, Beau de Bois, and better yet, she could sense his ever-present energy around her. "I know you're hiding," she pinged him with her mind. Come out, or—" She stopped. "Or what?" he pinged back. She wasn't sure this was the right time for strip and find me, so she simply said, "Or I'll be waiting for you inside, and you might never get to Azure Falls." Well, that was definitely a mistake, because any threat of an interlude was not much of a punishment, and so he took a moment before he responded. Let's save that for later on the boat. He worked up the strength to wait for her. And with that as plan, foiled of surprising her with a gallant entrance, disappeared, he moved out from behind the large bin on the side of the house. "Hello, love," he said, embracing her fondly, and she folded into him, breathing him in. "Do you have everything we talked about?" "Yes, sugar cookies in my raincoat," she said, as if she knew exactly what they were for. But Dakkar wasn't letting on about either one. He only smiled fondly at her and moved to load his car with her bags. "Let's get this party started. Are you ready?" "As ready as I can be," she smiled as he helped her into the car. He felt happy, and that was what mattered most. He pulled out of the drive and onto the coast highway towards Tessalak, my other book series, where the sister town, where they would catch the boat in Santa Marlena. And as he hummed and drove with one hand on the wheel and the other holding hers, Owie Bowie held on tightly to the back bumper, seen only by other ill-meaning spirits as they cheered him on to his most ultimate deed ever, the breakup of one Bringers of the Light power couple. Do, do, do. Every time they go somewhere together, someone's trying to mess with them. All right. So let's see what energies we want to tease out there. So I'm going to grab my deck, Pleiadian Power, as I'm shuffling. This is going to be additional messages. So if you're listening to these with your master ears, or yeah, you have master ears on YouTube too, because there's no visuals, then you may have metaphors that pop out for you from what's being read as part of the story that have a special meaning or significance to you. What I do find interesting about the audience dynamics for this is YouTube folks aren't much into these stories, it seems. Like they're more, you guys are more the experientials and the light language stuff. And the podcast people, like the people that listen on podcast platforms, the top listened podcast episodes are all these Bringers of the Light episodes. I just find that very interesting. So I create content for the whole entire community, no matter where you're listening. So I've got 3 cards from Pleiadian Power. This is my deck. Most of the decks that I use are my decks. And I'm going to put this out there too. I do use my decks, but I also, I'm an indie author and artist, showcasing my work and my artistic talents and so forth on the show. So I have a lot of my decks, but I am totally open, like for any other indie artist who works with decks, creates your own decks and would like me to work with your deck on the show. I am totally open to that. And you can email me and we can talk about it. I don't want to share my address out in the show notes. But let me know if you are, or if there's some place, maybe we, like not barter, like an exchange, like one of my decks for one of yours or something like that. Or, whatever, however that works out. But I'm totally open to that because I've seen a lot of beautiful indie decks. These are ones that, aren't printed in overseas and aren't mass produced, but are so totally beautiful. My decks are not printed overseas. They're printed here in the US. That's kind of a big thing. I try to stay as local as much as possible. Why am I going on this diatribe? I don't know. But I am interested in doing stuff like that on the show. So I don't know where that's coming from. But this is my deck. This is where I'm going. I'm using Pleiadian Power. It's my creation. Links to all of my decks, there's 6 or 7 of them out there now, are all at the Game Crafter. All the links to everything I talk about, the books, all my ebooks are free to read. Some of them may say, so if you go to the link in Smashwords, which is my ebook publisher, a lot of them say free, but some of them may say buy now or whatever, but it says you set the price. Because I'm starting to put that on some of those, especially the new ones. So Eat Like a Lemurian is my first nonfiction book. And that is you set the price. But if you go into it, if you feel like you are going to read it for free, then you can read it for free. Or it's donation based and you set the price and you can pay whatever you want for it it's good karma, people, to not always take everything for free. Okay. It's good karma to give as well as to receive. Like Master Co says, you can't just continue to inhale, 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 and take. You have to like exhale at some point. Light language is coming through. So I've got 3 cards. Oh my God. Okay. So the first card that came out is from the deck is you are a bringer of the light. So I'm right. This is all of us. This is not just Abigail and Dakkar. This is not Bringers of the Light book series. These channelings are written and I bring them through for all of us that listen, because we are, light workers, light warriors, bringers of the light, whatever you want to call yourself. Guardian angels? Maybe I've got some guardian angels out there. Earth angels, empaths. You all are bringers of the light. That's why you resonate with these words and all of this. So if you're doubting like who you are, you're part of this crew, right? You're part of this Bringers of the Light crew, and you're doing what you can to spread joy and love and peace, even if you don't exactly know what your physical purpose is, like your 3D job or whatever. Like there's so many people, I think, where it's up in the air right now. And that was part of the story too, is where like Dakkar, they're going away on a little trip this month. And even Dakkar was like, I'm drinking a cognac and I'm kind of meditating about the future. I'm seeing this play out with clients that I talk to as well. They're kind of like, well, I'm not really sure where I'm going yet. So that may be you may be like, I'm not really sure, but you know that you're here on this planet for a purpose. All my star seeds, you're here on this planet for a purpose. You have a mission, and maybe that mission is changing or upgrading, or you're being... the other thing that came up for this year, I don't know if we necessarily brought it up. If you watched the 2022 Energies episode, it was falling in love again, was the overall theme that we're working with for the year. But Divine Reassigned was another one that kept coming up kind of under the covers, but that wasn't really outwardly being talked about. And I think a lot of you are being divine reassigned. So you are a bringer of the light. So if you doubted that, don't doubt it. And also just meditate. You're going to get the answers that you need for the direction that you need to go in for your work. If it's a job change or a divine reassignment, like you're being moved somewhere else that's kind of unexpected or whatever, just flow with that. Check in with your guides and, make sure that you're clear on what's going on. The next card that came out is kind of cute because we have cats show up a lot in these stories. So we have Mr. Tom Paws, who is a cat familiar working at the billiard hall. We have Scratchy, who is our very magical cat familiar shifter. We don't know what he shifts out of it or shifts into. We've only seen him as a cat, but cat shifter. Polly Williker's familiar. And the next card out of the deck is Enlightened Rescue Cat. Guards and protects you during times of stress. So I find this interesting. Like, okay, in the story, maybe some cat is going to... What did come out for me with this yesterday is I got this card personally yesterday. And I was like, what is Enlightened? I don't have any cats. There have been a lot of cats hanging around, like just kind of staring at my house. But, in my dream time, when I get this card, I get visits from my passed on pets. And it is like a familiar in a sense, but it wasn't so much that they were guarding, protecting me in times of stress, which they can. You may have a familiar who does that for you. But these pets were just kind of there, like spreading the love vibes. And last night particularly, I dreamt about these two pass-on pets that I had. They passed within 2 weeks of each other, like several years back. And they always come into my dreams together, even though they were like, in age-wise, they were very far apart. One passed at the age of 12 and one passed at the age of 2 years old, or 2 or 3. several weeks apart, but they are always playing together in my dreams. And in this one, it's very heart opening. Like they were just going around and like, everyone's like, who are those animals? And I'd be like, oh, they're, what. It was very interesting. So you may get visits. Maybe this is what it is. You may get visits from spirit animals. Like, are your spirit eyes open to what's happening around you? Especially in this case, like this owie bowies, like Abigail and Dakkar are so smitten with each other. They don't even realize like a dark energy's following you to your vacation. Like, how do they get into these things? Just like the Argyle Land. It's the Argyle Land. Last December when they went to the Argyle Land and they had like malevolent energies show up and they were kind of like unaware of what was going on. So guards and protects you during times of stress. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Watch the animals that show up in your reality. That's just kind of messages for right now. So because owie bowie, to me, when I tap into the energy of this owie bowie that's trying to like, break them apart, like he reminds me of like, not something very bad, right? He just seems like he's a mischief maker. Like he's going to try to stir up some trouble. So just be aware of that kind of mischievous energy. And I do think there's like some, this month of January particularly, but I guess whenever you listen to this too, if you listen to it later, like there may just be some outer energies around you. Like these retrogrades are happening. There's a Mercury retrograde coming up here starting in the next couple of days after I record this. Just be aware of like a trickster energy that's not like, don't freak out. Like it's not like psychic attack, but this trickster energy is just in the air. And if you happen to like bump into it and interact with it, then it could like mess with you a little bit. So, add some extra protection. Watch how your animals are reacting at this time. Are they more tired? Are they more agitated? Pay attention to what's going on around you so that you can adequately shield or protect your energy from lower energy. That's the message. And then the last card is Pleiadian Power. Message: a dream is just a dream until you take action. We have been getting this message over and over and over again about taking action. Your projects aren't going to finish themselves. And I think the energy right now, even though there are these retrogrades, is very supportive of you taking action on your projects. But we talked about the Taoist way of flowing with the energy. That's the kind of the 5D or New Earth Now or Age of Aquarius way of doing things too, is more flowing with the energy as it comes through. A quick example of that is yesterday. I try to put things on a calendar because Master Co, I listen to him, like I said, every day. And he's like, plan it on a calendar. And I am my previous life, previous job as a in the corporate world, I was an IT project manager for many, many, many years. And it's like, if it's not on a calendar with a deadline and a date, and it's not happening. And you just kind of can't be that rigid with it in this 5D higher light, higher vibe energy way, because it's not, I'm getting chills. Because the 3D world is on a linear timeline, almost like a straight line in a sense. When you vibe higher, you are working with energy that's more spiral based, or I did a podcast episode one time on the Mobius strip. And there's a lot of spirals and loops in the higher vibe energy, because a timeline, like a calendar time, is a 3D construct, right? It's not how the energy world works. It doesn't work with calendars and times. So it's kind of counterintuitive to say, I'm in the 5D, but I'm going to plan out this schedule that says, on this date I'm going to do this, and this date I'm going to do that, and this date I'm going to do that. And I'm not talking about appointments and stuff in the 3D world. Like, you have to be able to bounce between the 3D world and the 5D world. But like my artist work, I can't put times on stuff. In a sense, I have to put a goal, like, okay, I want to finish this book by this time. Like I just said, okay, the end of February. And I can't the way it works for me is I can't every day say, on this day I'm going to write this chapter, on this day I'm going to do this video. It just doesn't work. I have to be more high level and say, I'd like to do a couple videos a week or maybe more. I want to finish this book and work on this deck. And then I let the energies align for me. And maybe it means that I just let the energies align and I flow so that, today I'm doing a video and maybe tomorrow I'll do a thing, but I don't get all up in arms if that gets mussed up a little bit and I have to switch and do the video tomorrow and the book today or something. So just try to flow with it as best you can, but you still have to do stuff. You still have to take action, like your wares and your creations and your projects, no matter what they are, aren't going to happen if you don't get up and work on them. And so just because there's a retrograde or a eclipse or a full moon or a new moon, based on your energy level, now check in with your energy level, but if you're feeling good, then there's no reason you can't work on any project, okay? So I think that the guides just want to be really clear about that every time there's an energy surge or a shift, you don't have to sit by the wayside and wait for it to pass. You can still get stuff accomplished. And they're saying that they want to be very, I don't know why they're kind of saying that's a strong message. So I guess there's some of you that kind of, believe me, I've been there, totally been there. That's why I can talk about this. But it's not a reason to sit by the wayside. Your January will be gone. And January for us on the show the outcome was, based on our January, our goals for first quarter, is a great sense of accomplishment. So if you want to feel a great sense of accomplishment this month, then you have to get moving, okay? Get moving, but just do it in a pace that works best for you. Like the 5D and above multidimensional workings is not like a hurried pace. It's doing stuff in a flow and a peaceful sense. And just believing in yourself that you can and will accomplish what you need to accomplish. So I think, let me see how long I've been, So we have no idea where the whales are at yet or what Azure Falls is. This story is a result of a dream I had a while back where I just saw hundreds and hundreds of whales in the ocean, they just bounce and dance around. I mean, there was hundreds of whales. And so I don't know where this story is leading us, but I can always say that whenever we work with any of these stories that are channeled through, but especially the bringers of the light, there's always a big awakening and a big healing and a lot of fun involved as well. So let me check in and see if there's anything else that these spirit friends here would like me to talk about. All right, so they are saying that they are complete. So the next time I see you on the show, if you watch me in linear order, then in a couple of days I'm going to be doing a pick a card. That will be a video, although I do still post it on the podcast because folks listen to those as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining me yet again, and we will see you all friends again soon. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by Rockaway Point's newest veterinary clinic, Posh Pets. Clark Witherspoon and his familiar poodles are here to help you with all your healing needs. Be it a toenail trim or a hairball tummy trouble healing session, we have everything you need at Posh Pets.